of Health Sciences, University of Ottago. Commercialization of research is about translating into...
And it's a privilege for me to be here at UKM and to be talking with you and having a chance to tell you a little bit about some of the work we've started doing in the area of drug delivery to the brain. This is unusual for me because I would normally be standing up the front and talking, and the slides would be there, and I'd be able to watch people's faces to see if I was boring them or if they were going to sleep or not. It looks like two kiwis, doesn't it, in a neck embrace? Well, it's not two kiwis in a neck embrace. It's actually, so these are the Ottago colours, the blue and the gold, the Ottago colours, but it's not two kiwis in a neck embrace, it's two hands together like that, symbolising that drug delivery research is a collaborative process. You can't do drug, it got everywhere else in the body but not into the brain or the spinal cord. And he thought, because he was used to dyes binding to things, he said, these dyes do not bind to brain. And that's the reason it's not showing up there. But then his student, I don't think they were really this old. This is the problem. You pull pictures of people off the net, and this is when they were famous, right? But when they did the work, they were young people like you guys. So do not think that this sort of work is done by old people. This is done by young people at the bench. And so his student, Edwin Goldwyn, he injected some dye into the brain, and he found that it did stain the brain, it did bind there, and it didn't get out into the body. So it wasn't, this experiment by Ehrlich was not because the brain that wasn't binding to the brain, it was because it wasn't getting into the brain. And so the concept, the idea of a barrier between the blood and the brain was born, the blood-brain barrier. At Griffith University in the Gold Coast of Queensland, Australia, and I've done other ones at other universities. And those sort of reviews are very good, and they're a great opportunity for faculties to get what they want, because in your self-review you identify your strengths and your weaknesses and where you need to improve. And so I'm here as an adjunct professor, and so I saw my aim as coming to talk and bring some in my experience in universities, in academic life, in research, to this group to give some advice, but also, I hope, to build some enthusiasm and motivation in the group. I'm not saying you don't have enthusiasm and motivation, but to help you look at things in different ways and maybe give a different perspective from what you'll see, because when someone comes in from outside, they see things with new eyes. So my report is very short. It's 4 pages, that's all. And it's based upon the activities I've been involved with during the week, which involved, and here they are, and Carol just listed them. So I arrived on Monday morning, and Carol has hosted me, and he's been a very good host, thank you, and I acknowledge that. My visit here has been well planned and organised, and you've been a great host, and I've been felt well cared for, and I appreciate that. So I've met with the Dean, I've had discussions with the staff in the pharmaceutical section, I've listened to presentations from postgraduate students, and I had opportunity to roast them a little bit and provide them with some critical feedback, which I hope they appreciated. I gave a lecture to the second year students on pre-formulation, and that gave me an opportunity to briefly assess the second year students to get one measurement of their enthusiasm and interest. Similarly for the third year students in biopharmaceutics. And I gave the public lecture, which was well attended in this room, so thank you for that. And then we had a workshop yesterday, which I really enjoyed, on writing up research. And that was a full day, wasn't it? It was a full day in which I gave an introductory talk on writing research or presenting research, both at conferences and also in journals. And then we did some real workshopping stuff in the afternoon, where the postgraduate students worked in pairs and looked at some aspects of their draft manuscripts that they had written. And that was great, really enjoyed it. And then I've been through a lot of the pharmaceutics curriculum papers out there and the examinations. So you understand I haven't been through them in infinite detail because I did that over about a 2-hour period, 3-hour period, so you can only achieve so much in that time. I've had the discussion with the pharmacy practice group this morning, and I enjoyed it. I hope they enjoyed it, and we had a good time. And I did a journal club presentation with postgraduate students. And here's this. And I did a tour of the undergraduate and research facilities, the undergraduate laboratories and research facilities in pharmaceutics. And we had a very brief tour of the library. So these are all important aspects of research. But what I haven't done is I haven't gone online and looked at what library facilities you have available online and what journals you can access and so forth. Okay, so what are my impressions? Remembering I would have liked to have triangulated and so forth. So pharmaceutic staff, I was impressed by the quality of the staff. I think they're enthusiastic. You have research. The floors are very shiny. In the main, there was one lab where it was dirty and scruffy, but the floors are actually polished well. And then you come off the floors, and you come up a little bit, and you'll see that there's dust over the benches. And then you get up to the bench tops, and you'll see that a lot of the bench tops have got stains, or they've got someone stuck some sellotape there and pulled it off, and there's some old glue there, and so forth. And these are little things, I know that, but they are little things which perhaps are saying this standard is good enough, and I think we should be saying this standard isn't good enough. We should be continually raising standards for things that look aesthetically pleasing and are clean and dust-free. And I just saw the small pharmacy and the dispensing lab. It stocked the medicines there were covered with dust, and they're out of date, and some of the ones in our pharmacy are out of date, but some are really obviously degraded. There was an antibiotic powder which had packed solid and it had big red blotches of oxidised material all through it. And I would have thought at the end of each semester those shelves get cleaned, they all get dusted. Just like you would in a community pharmacy. Well, you do in our community pharmacy. Clean everything gets dusted off, all the shelves dusted. Throw out those old medicines, throw them away there. I think it's sending the students a wrong message, and get good medicines in there in fresh boxes. Maybe they'll be half a year or 1 year out of date. I understand that because you can get them for free rather than having to pay for them. But on the other hand, some drug companies might give samples for free anyway because they want their products in front of the students. And so if you can be saying to the drug companies, you want your product in front of the students? We'll do it, give us that, we'll have them here. The research and the postgraduate students. So here I'm not talking about pharmacy practice, I don't know. I'm talking about the pharmaceutics research. So I enjoyed my interactions with the students during their presentations and the workshop and writing up the research. And I was fairly, I was hard, pushy, robust. We had good, frank discussion, didn't we? And I didn't go too softly on them. We spoke frankly about the research, and I questioned them and pushed them and so forth, and they were good, you know. They didn't get all negative and say, oh, I don't want to do this. They were willing to talk and think and be pushed, and that's a great quality, so that was good. So my aim was so by way of apology, my aim was to challenge them, to provide critical and constructive feedback, to encourage them and to give them some methods to improve their writing of research, for example. So they will best judge whether or not I achieved that aim. The research which has been conducted is in the main good. to high quality. It's relevant to pharmaceutics research, and it's using modern pharmaceutical, I hope you'll forgive me. So the pharmaceutics teaching, you know better than I, this is the way I saw it, consists of courses in years 1, 2, 3 and 4, physical pharmacy in the first year, pharm tech in the, and pharmaceutics, biopharmaceutics in the second and third year, and quality control and nuclear pharmacy in the fourth year. I got that right. So let me just give you some bullet points of, as I flicked through what I thought. I couldn't find materials on buffers, and I thought it's got to be there, but I couldn't find it. So if it's not being covered, I think it should be covered. Presumably it is, but I didn't see any exam questions on it either. So have a look at that. I didn't think tonicity, isotonicity was being covered, but then I did find an exam question on that, so it must be. The coverage on stability and expiry dating, I only found one lecture on that, and I thought, oh, that can't be right. You can't cover all areas of hydrolysis and oxidation, and electrolysis and isomerization, physical stability, chemical stability, and so forth in one lecture, as well as touch on order of kinetics. But then I did find a subsequent exam questions which suggest that coverage is greater than I had found in the lectures. So I'm not sure where it's been covered, but I think it must be. But it might be worth looking at that. The pharmacology, it covers a fair bit of PK and biopharmaceutics. Did you know PK and biopharmaceutics? People, did you know that? Yeah. The pharmacology people cover a fair bit of pharmacokinetics and biopharmaceutics, and that's probably necessary. And then in the biopharmaceutics pharmacokinetics, of course, I thought, oh, you cover it again. And that's not necessarily educationally bad. Sometimes you do need to repeat stuff because the students, it's an important concept that the students haven't grasped it, or because you're presenting it from a different perspective from what the pharmacologists are, but I don't think you are. Anyhow, there may be some unnecessary duplication there, but it's not a big deal. It's just one of these things that external people like to see. I mean, it's an impressive list of material, and I'm not sure how much, I know our students don't. And if you can achieve it, then I want you to tell me how you do it, because I'd love to learn about that.
Most likely we ourselves are not.
But it looks impressive when you put down the list, doesn't it? Yeah, and that's a problem. Should we be more? Should we say, look, people, here's a list of references. Martin's Physical Pharmacy. No undergraduate student looks at Martin's Physical Pharmacy these days. Manager, your dean, your deputy vice chancellor of research. How can we make you successful by making us successful? And so that's how I've always seen it. And I know that deans and vice chancellors and deputy vice chancellors have got restrictions placed on them, financial restrictions and resource restrictions. And they've also got lots of demands being put on them, but you should make sure you're one of those demands. Make sure they're looking at you, but you're not. It's not, give us this because we're good people and we're struggling and help us. It's, if you give us this, we can succeed and you will succeed then. This will be a great faculty, and then this will be a great division of health science, and then this will be a great university. And so it's not please, please, please. It's how can we work together to make this successful and brilliant. So some suggestions, and these are specific suggestions for the health science, one faculty one. Consider having these. Consider having a weekly seminar program for faculty, as we discussed this morning, with presentations from within the faculty and from outside the faculty. Pharmaceutics, consider a fortnightly journal club, which both postgraduates and staff take turns to present. And there's a lead questioner. Consider leading the establishment of a local chapter of the Control Relief Society to build the profile, the group's profile. Postgrads, message to them, I told them yesterday, pair up with another postgrad who doesn't work in the area, the exact area, and provide each other with critical and constructive feedback on their draft manuscripts. And in that way they develop critical skills. They also develop better writing skills themselves. And spend some time. Think about the strategy for building the profile of the pharmaceutics group in the university, in Malaysia, and internationally. There's 3 different levels there to build the profile, and you'll have different strategies at the different levels. And it takes time. Don't expect to do it all at once, but have it as an aspirational goal. Talk about it. I want to go to that university, great research record. Attract people. You'll attract great postgraduate students eventually, postdocs. It's all part of the strategy of building the profile. Yeah. And build the profile within the university. Why? So the Vice Chancellor and Deputy Vice Chancellor care about pharmacy. This is one of our jewels in the crown of this university. I care about it. I want to make sure that it succeeds. So I'll make sure it's got the resources and it doesn't have holes in its ceiling for water. Yeah, so strategies, and they're both scientific strategies and political strategies. Oh, sorry, what else? So, and then this is by way of apology, my report's based on brief exposure to staff facilities, that you'll see them in that light. Most importantly, I hope you will find them useful in building this faculty to achieve the aspirational goals, whichever you might set yourself. So thank you.
Thank you, Professor, for beautiful report. I think seriously beautiful report. It's hard you can find very senior, prominent professor comes to a faculty and give this kind of report motivational to all of us. What we always listen to, or people scold us about this paper.
Have your PA do this? Your secretary do this?
That's what they need. They have to do.
That's right.
But it just looks cool.
It's too well done by a team. Right. Oh, good. Very nice. Faculty pharmacy. Yes. Thank you.